Okay, so going to take you through here briefly JFK, his birth chart, and the event of his assassination. And we're going to see what kind of information that we can pull from that, both about his life and about the conditions of his death, and especially, in this case, the timing of it. The most interesting factors of this. So I know that you're not too familiar with this and then what we've talked about, so I'm going to just try to bring this to you in a way that makes as much sense as possible. So this is a birth chart. So this is JFK, right? He was born May 29, 1917, 3 p.m., Brookline, Massachusetts. Okay. And this is what this is here. This is a map of the sky, right? So this is the eastern horizon. This is what's rising, right? In the sunrise, that would be rising over the sky. And this is what's setting over here. This is the top of the sky up here. This is the bottom of the earth. Okay, well, we have these planets in here that are all doing different things. And we're not going to talk about the planets just yet, but what we're going to talk about is something that's even more foundational than that, which is the houses. And this might be something that's new to you. So, you see that there's this ring of 12, right? This ring of 12 numbers. Now, what they represent is they represent different houses. And what houses are different areas of your life that are represented by both the planets that are in them and also the signs that are in those houses, right? So I'm going to take you briefly through the 12 houses here, and we'll connect why this is very interesting for his assassination in just a little bit. So, the first house, he has here Libra. This is Libra. The first house kind of talks about you, your body, what you physically do, how you are, your health, your physical form. Okay. Your second house is about your money, your finances, property. It's what supports your physical form, right? It's your money, your finances. Third is brothers, sisters, siblings, neighborhood, things like this. It's also communication. And things like this. Okay. Fourth is your upbringing and your family, your parents. Fifth is sex, pleasure, art, creativity, things like this. Your children. Okay. Sixth is mostly concerned with health. Seventh is other people, right? Especially your significant other. You find someone's marital information in this house here. The eighth house, what's mostly pertinent to us in this conversation, is your death. It's the conditions of your death. It's how you die, and it's generally speaking very concerned with when you would die. So, but also interestingly, it's not just the house of death. It's also the house of other people's money, right? So, just how you are the first house, and the second house is your money. So, the seventh house is other people, and the eighth house, second from the seventh, is other people's money. Right, so big say hedge fund managers and people like Warren Buffett, for instance, people who manage a lot of other people's money, big stockbroker kind of people, usually see a lot of activity in their eighth house because they manage other people's money. It doesn't just mean they're going to die, in a dramatic way. It indicates that. So I'm going to hold on to that for a second. Ninth is higher education. It's vocation, it's life philosophy. Sometimes it's religion. 10th is kind of your life work, what you're known for, your reputation. The primary thing that is what you do in this world. 11th is society, friendship, community, etc. 12th is personal undoing, vices and things like this. So, okay, so we have these 12 houses, right? And we can see some interesting stuff about this. So, I'm just going to go through another layer of detail here. So, he has Libra in the first house, the scales, where your sun is at. Libra is a sign which is ruled by Venus. Venus up here. That looks like the feminine side. So what can we pull from that? Well, this is a person who's well-spoken. He's very attractive. He's popular. Perhaps a bit detached at times, and aspect. But overall, this is one thing in this case we pull. This is a attractive and popular person. A second house, we have Scorpio here. This is again money, right? Scorpio is a sign that's ruled by Mars, right? So this would indicate because he has Mars in a place that's not very good, right? It's opposed to the sign that it rules. It indicates that he probably had some pretty serious problems managing money and managing his own personal affairs. But he's pretty good at managing that of other people, right? Because he's got that up there in the eighth house. Okay, hold on to that. Third house here, again, communication, siblings. He has Sagittarius. This is a sign that's ruled by Jupiter, also up there in the eighth house. Now, this is interesting because, on the one hand, it makes him like a very emphatic communicator, memorable. Can try to cut to the heart of things in a way and appeal to people's physical sensibilities, right? It's this sign that's ruled by Jupiter up there. We'll get to that in a little bit. But it also has to do with his brothers and sisters. Now, this is interesting, right? Because Kennedy famously had some siblings die, right? So we're going to get to this more in a minute, but the eighth house, like we said, is the house of death, right? So he has the ruler of his house of brothers and sisters in the eighth house. What happens consistently in his life? Well, he has his brothers die, right? One of his brothers died in a plane crash, fairly early on, fighting a jet fighter, I think, which is quite interesting. So you can see this kind of like connection coming through of like, oh, he might have had some difficulties with the mortality of his siblings. Fourth house is, upbringing, family. Here we have Capricorn as the sign in this. Now, this is interesting. Capricorn is a sign ruled by Saturn, and his Saturn is up here in the 10th house. Very powerful, very potent, visible Saturn. So what is his family like? Well, he's from a very visible family. He's from a dynasty, It's up here. Everybody knows the Kennedys. That's what's going on there. That's the indication there. Fifth house, what he makes, his personal life, not too interesting for this topic, so we'll go on. Sixth house is his service, but also his health, what he does. We find something interesting here because, again, this is Pisces, is the sign that's ruled by Jupiter. Again, just like Sagittarius, Pisces, ruled by Jupiter. So this is his house of service. What he does with his time. Now, what does he do with his time? Well, he often campaigns on very liberal values, right? He campaigns to give money to other people, right? He champions affordable housing and such things like this, availability of medicine. Very very prominent factors for him. So this is one indication of this. Seventh house, other people, or we're not too concerned with that right now. His wife. All right, so eighth house, yeah. So he's got a lot going on here. So his eighth house, Taurus, also ruled by Venus, just like Libra. You don't have to remember all this. I'm just telling you. But it will come up when we talk about his assassination. So yeah, it's both indicating his death and his end of life, but also, what he does with other people's money, with all the resources that he's given to dole out as president later on, right? And he's very concerned with this, and you can see some of JFK's liberalism in this, right? He has Mars here. He's a fighter. He's a champion, for people in this kind of way, quite emphatic. However, like we said, this Mars here in Taurus is not quite so happy as a planet. It's an afflicted Mars, right? Because it's opposed to its own sign of Scorpio. So, he does this, he does champion this, but it kind of gets him into trouble sometimes, and he gets a lot of pushback on this. But nevertheless, he champions that. And he's known for that. He has Mercury here. This is, the planet of communication, of thought, of action. He spends a lot of time working with this particular kind of disposition to other people. This liberalism, and also Jupiter, the planet of generosity, of expansion, right? The gas giant Jupiter. A lot of good things come from Jupiter. This is also an indication, perhaps, of some of his popularity and his generosity that he's still known for. Okay, well that's his eighth house. So his ninth house. So yeah, we had like vocation, we had higher education and such like this. Well, it's very well educated, of course, but it's also the house of something of publishing, right? It's of publishing, of getting your words out there, right? It's opposed to the third house, which is, in addition to brothers and sisters, it's communication, it's how you talk, how you think, how you write. Well, the ninth, opposed to that, is how you get your words out there, right? How you get your words out there. So what did he do? I mean, he, in his higher education, he was a journalist, right? So he was very concerned with writing and the of getting information out, right? Which is very prominent for him and how we think of him now, also, right? Because he has Venus here, and Venus, like we talked about earlier, rules his ascendant. It's the most important planet in his whole damn chart, in a way, is Venus. So this is very significant. And also his sun, his vitality. All right, so fine, we'll move on. In 10th house here, here's Mr. Presidential Kennedy, right? He has this massive Saturn here. Saturn is the planet of limits, of boundaries, of holding, of form. It brings a lot of difficulties, right? Brings challenges, right? Saturn rules the two winter signs, Capricorn and Aquarius, the winter signs. But also Saturn gives an enormous amount of power. Just like as we were talking about with the war cycle of Saturn and Pluto, when those come together, that's generally a big war indicator, conflict. So having this, in a natal chart like this, also, indicates someone who can absolutely fucking fight. Though, perhaps, in a way that brings them, perhaps, to a violent end. This is a common position that you find in world leaders. Is Saturn on the midheaven. That's what MC means. It's midheaven, medium coli at the top of the sky. So Saturn was literally up right above when he was born, etc. So very powerful. You see this in a lot of world leader charts. You also, Dad, have Saturn on your midheaven. It's a very powerful placement for you too. Yours is better placed than Kennedy's, and because Kennedy's is in Cancer, which is opposed to the sign that it rules. Capricorn does not like that. Yours is in Libra, which it loves. But we won't talk about that right now. Just let you know. Great position in your own birth chart. So for Kennedy, yes, very significant, but also there's an indication here of like you might come to trouble. You might actually incur injury or potentially lose your life in the pursuit and in the realm of your career, right, of your reputation as president, right? You might die as president is one literal way of looking at that. Also Pluto, okay, yeah, like big power, yeah, it's fucking massive fellow. All right, fine. So here we have again we have the 11th house. Here we have Leo, right? It's the sign. We have Neptune here, right? Looks like a trident. Saturn's trident. And this is an interesting thing for Kennedy in particular, because especially in his death, right? Because his death is still under mysterious circumstances. It's like there's all these stories of how Kennedy died, who killed him, how, why, but then there's all these other stories of like, well, to what degree was the CIA involved? To what degree was, this like part of, because, he wanted to prevent nuclear development, if I recall correctly, or like otherwise kind of go against the CIA very directly. So there's all these thoughts, like mysteriously his relationship to other people, which this Neptune is going to come into play here in just a minute. And lastly, again, in the 12th house there, he has his moon, right, which would indicate that he's probably a very private person. So, all right, fine. Let's move on and let's add to this chart. We're going to add the day that he died. So, now we have that. So inside here, just like before, we still have his birth chart. We still have Kennedy's birth chart. But on the outside now, this outer ring is the day, the moment, the minute that he died, right? This is November 22, 1963, 12:30 p.m. in Dallas. So this is the moment that he died. So what can we see, from this chart? Well, several interesting things. Just a moment here. So, because we're interested in how Kennedy died and what were the indications of this, we are again. Let's look at Kennedy's eighth house. Let's look at his eighth house. Now, his eighth house, again, is ruled by Venus, okay? So we're immediately interested in, well, what's in the real time in this transiting chart, right? This real time for him at that moment, real time transiting chart. What was Venus doing, right? What was Venus doing? Well, Venus was down here. Venus was down here in Sagittarius, his third house, we recall. Down here in Sagittarius, yeah, this is what Venus was doing in the sky then. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, one thing we immediately see is that it's very close to Mars. Now, Mars brings, as you can imagine, violence, aggression, impetus, force, the go-getter energy to be able to get things done, but also violence, right? Of course. Whereas Saturn afflicts people through limits and constraints and cold, Mars afflicts people through excess of heat, excess of aggression, right? So his Venus here, the ruler of his eighth house of death, is very tight to this very aggressive planet down here. And, okay, well, not an ideal situation for him, but, this happens all the time for everybody. It's passed through every single year. Well, we also notice that Mars, he has Mars in his natal eighth, right? So Mars, in the context of thinking about his death, right, all of these three planets here, Jupiter, Mercury, and Mars, all have an added significance towards what kind of death he may have, right, in addition to the ruler Venus. So we see this coming into play here. And also, we see not just that that Mars is conjoined with this transiting Venus here, but also that Mars is opposed to his natal Venus, right? The transiting real-time Mars in the sky is opposed to his natal Venus, which makes this an even trickier situation, right? Because the lord of his eighth house, at the end of his life, is being slammed doubly, right? One from his own natal chart and its positions, and two real-time in the sky. So, let's see here. Where do we go from here? Just a second. Just wrote this out in a way that I think makes sense. Okay. Well, yeah. So we know this is not a great situation for him overall, and this would probably be a difficult transit, as it's called, if he didn't die. But we also here have in his eighth house, like we talked about, we have Jupiter, right? And Jupiter, even though for him in a lot of ways Jupiter is pretty powerful planet in his chart. Not huge, but it's like pretty big. He's known for his generosity and stuff, liberalism, like we were talking about. This is a very liberal place, but you can see that in this chart. Well, fine. So that's where he has it. But in the real time, the transit, right? Jupiter's over here in Aries. Right? And notice that the numbers are red. What that means is that it's retrograde. It means that it is moving backwards in the sky, right? Normally the planets are ascending through the degrees, through the signs in this direction, right? You're going from, like, Jupiter will be going to 23, 24, 25, 26, etc., and then eventually pass from Taurus into Gemini, 0, Gemini, 1, Gemini, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Well, some planets, usually the outer planets, well, actually every planet but the sun and the moon, from time to time go retrograde, which is where they appear to be moving backwards in the sky. This is a very terrible affliction in the context of traditional astrological literature, because it indicates that you are just moving backwards, literally, and that you can't really get anything done. You're retrotting past steps. You're not very effective at what you're doing. Okay, so we see this Jupiter is already not doing very well here, and I'm curious about the context of where Kennedy was in his campaign, because that would probably indicated by that. But we also see that Jupiter is in Aries. It's in Aries. Now, Aries every sign of the zodiac here, every sign corresponds to a body part. Aries is the first sign. It is what begins spring, right? The spring equinox is the event of when the sun moves into Aries, right? It's the first sign. Boom, spring. Everything's blooming. Aries, fire, initiation. Make it happen. The world is coming into being again. It's coming into life out of winter, into, into furious existence. It's defying, this Aries is a Martian sign ruled by Mars, right? It's initiating. It's hot. It's aggressive. It has to be to live, right? Okay, well, fine. But Aries, when you look at the way that that's mapped to the body, because Aries is the first sign, it rules the head, right? It rules the head. So this is interesting. So we have Jupiter here, a planet that is in his 8th house of death, doing quite poorly in the sign of his head, right? Okay. So that's that's an interesting thing. We might kind of note that, but it's not a big deal. Well, when we look around and see, like, well, what else is that Jupiter doing then in this kind of condition? What kind of effect is that having? Well, to see that and to see what happens, not just in a birth chart, Dad, but also like major events, war charts, fucking business foundation charts, any kind of event, in this world, the invention of the telegraph, whatever it is, everything has a fucking birth chart if you can find the time. And you can tell things like this. So, okay, so anyway, back to that. So we look when we want to see what Jupiter here is doing in this pretty challenging position here. It's already a sensitive planet for him. We look at the signs that Jupiter rules and see what's going on. Well, we saw that Jupiter was Pisces. Okay, not too much going on there, clearly. But Jupiter also rules Sagittarius. And this is where this big fucking problem that he is having here with this Mars-Venus fucking affliction, bam, 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 is happening, right? It's happening in the 3rd house, ruled by a planet that is in the sign of the head, that is very afflicted by violence, right? So, we can go into this in a number of different ways, and I'll try to keep this brief here, because I've looked at this a little bit, kind of parse this out, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds and lose you. But the basic idea here is that okay, well I'll just show you one more little thing here. So we have all that. We have this tight, tense, difficult, and actually it's becoming quite dangerous situation for him. All right, well we're going to look at his chart one more way. Okay, we're going to look at it one more way. So I pulled up a new chart here. This is still Kennedy, right? So we still have his natal chart inside. His birth chart's just the same. And on the outer ring, we still have the event of his death, his assassination. Still the same. Still same time. Now, we added this chart in the middle here. And what this is called a secondary progression. And we don't need to get too far into this, but it's basically a Hellenistic timing technique that advances your birth chart one day for every year of your life. And the idea is, by doing this, you get a really wide view, macroscopic fucking idea of what is happening in a person's life and like the major events and when major things are going to change. Okay, so we have this new chart now, and I just want to point out a couple things about this. So remember that we're concerned about Venus. We're interested in what Jupiter is doing, and Venus over here. Concerned with Jupiter, and we're concerned with Mars, right? So here's what we have. When we pull that progressed chart up, we instantly notice that his progressed Mars, which is kind of like the place where it's at like really long term in his life, in the matter of like years and such, it's like really, really slowly, whereas transiting Mars moves quite fast. Kind of complicated, don't worry about it too much. But anyway, we see that this progressed Mars is also exactly opposed to that Venus that is ruling the house of his death. Oh shit, this is a fucking even worse situation, right? This planet Venus that is keeping him, that is ruling this end of life timing, is being slammed from multiple levels by this very hot, very aggressive, difficult fucking Mars. We also see that progressed Mars is quite close to his own natal Venus, right? It's only only 5 degrees away there. Okay, also not too great. Okay, well, I'm going to throw one more thing at you here. And this is just hear me out on this one. It's okay. This doesn't really make too much sense off here. This is getting a little complicated, but I just want to like really show you how you can see an event like this happening. Okay, so let's go back and think about just this inner chart one more time. Just this inner wheel, right? We have his ascendant, like we talked about, his rising, right? Which is at 19 Libra. His Libra ascendant was his first house, right? So all different ways of saying the same thing. And, we said it's like, oh, this is his body. This represents his physical person. Okay, this is a very important spot in the chart. Well, fine. But when you progress a chart like this, as well, you also progress the ascendant, right? Or in other words, you progress the angles. These are called angles, right? The ascendant, the midheaven, the descendant, and the IC, the imum coli, the bottom of the sky. These are called the angles, and they're the most important places in any chart. Most important places in any fucking chart. They tell you almost everything about it, just those angles. Okay, fine. Well, anyway, when we look at that progress chart again, we see that his ascendant has progressed down there to 24 Scorpio. Okay, interesting. Well, what does that mean? Well, just like his ascendant is 24 Scorpio, that means that just opposite to that, his descendant is progressed descendant is 24 Taurus. And what do we have here, Dad? Now take a look at this. The descendant, so the ascendant, right, represents you, your body, your life, right? And it also represents the beginning of your life, the initiation, your birth into things. The descendant, where the sun sets and the sky, represents in many ways your death and the end of your life. Well, okay, what do we have here at his progressed descendant? There we are. We have his natal Jupiter. Just 1 degree away. Okay, now then, we see that this is becoming even more dangerous for him. Even more dangerous with all of this fucking Mars, Venus, hot aggression, fucking anger, afflictions, oppositions, this lethargic, incapable Jupiter strolling back with a migraine blazing headache, and we have that Jupiter is descending. It's quite not good. So here's the exact moment that Kennedy died. Right here it is, Dad. So we see we remember that we have this transiting real-time Venus, here in November 22, 1963, 12:30 p.m. in Dallas, right there, 21 Sag, and we see that 21:26 minutes of Sag, and we see that it just finished in opposition to his progressed Mars at 21:17. Gemini just finished in opposition. So that whole thing is getting activated, right? All these planets that are in his house of death cross the descendant. He's going down. He's getting some severe difficulty coming to him in the head. And here is this, Venus ruling his house of death, being slammed from multiple angles by Mars, the force, the violence, and Sagittarius, which you'll notice is an arrow, right? It's the projectile. It is the bullet that is all slamming right into him. That moment right there is Kennedy's assassination. He gets shot through the head. But not only that, Dad, where does he get shot through the head? Where is he? He's in a fucking car, right? And we go back to this. We can get rid of this one now. We get back to this. He's in a car because all of this happening, this trigger moment that happens on here, is in his third house. Third house is short travel, right? Yeah, it's your brothers, it's your sisters, your neighborhood, but it's also like your short commute. It's car rides that you take. It's your local business that you just go around and do. Bam. That is the assassination of JFK. And there's more to say about that. You can pull a lot more from this chart about that than just like the trigger moment of all of these different things, coming together to make his death occur. In this massive, slow, literally celestial timing that no one can affect. It's just from the moment that he was born this is the way that it laid out, and these conditions all came together at that particular moment through no, will or change of his or anyone else's. This is the way it played out. But that said, we can tell more about this chart, and I have a feeling that you asked about it for to see if there's any insight into who actually pulled the trigger, and I think that we could get closer to that, though there's specific things in this whole chart which make that specifically difficult to see in an object of mystery in and of itself, as it kind of still remains. So, yeah, we won't go into that right now. I just want to give you that general breakdown of that's how you can tell a major timing event like that, right? And you don't have to do this in retrospect. JFK was talking to someone 20 years prior, and they were looking through to 1963 for him. They would have looked at that and they said, oh shit. Don't be in a convertible. All right. Love you, Dad. Hope that's interesting and informative to you. And I'm going to stop this now.